Now, cultural custodian.
So yeah, basically custodianship is looking after something, its history, its present, its future. You look after it. Growing while I was still in tertiary school, I left my A-levels and I was studying fine art. Then I bumped into the Mbira and they asked us, why do you want to learn the Mbira? I remember expressly that I said I want to make money.
Welcome back, everyone, to HUMHR Career Insights. I am really excited about my guest today. Today's guest is Hope Masike, an acclaimed Zimbabwean Mbira player, singer, writer, and cultural custodian whose work bridges tradition, innovation, and global collaboration. I'm sure you are asking, what is Mbira? If you are not from Zimbabwe, Hope will tell us soon. With a career spanning music, education, writing, and international stages, Hope has built a distinctive path as a creative entrepreneur, proving that culture can be both a calling and currency. In this conversation, we explore music as a career choice, the realities of creative entrepreneurship in Africa, and what it truly takes to build a sustainable life in the arts. Hope, welcome to HUMHR Career Insights.
Thank you for having me. How are you?
I am doing well. A bit cold where I am right now, and I understand it's raining in Zimbabwe.
Well, not currently. I will brag and say it's nice and sunny here, and everything looks green. The sky is totally blue. It's heaven right now.
Ah, wonderful. So I gave an introduction, which is in the public forum. It's on your bio, your official bio. But I would like to find out from you. I want you to imagine that you're at a dinner party and the host is the only one that knows you. How would you want them to introduce you?
Well, I would say Hope Masike is a lover of life and love itself and lettuce. I guess like everyone else. But the only difference is I use music and many other art forms to share this with people everywhere around. That's Hope Masike, and I'm Zimbabwean. Yeah.
Okay, great. Hope, you are known as a cultural custodian. You are known internationally as a Mbira player, a singer, a songwriter, and also the cultural custodian. Now, cultural custodian, what does that mean? It's a big word, right? And I would like to find out from you what that is, what that means to you personally.
To me, custodian means the Shona word is muchengeti. So you're the one who looks after something. It means you nourish something. It means you appreciate something and encourage the appreciation of that something to other people. So yeah, basically custodianship is looking after something, its history, its present, its future. You look after it. So that's what I am.
Can I assume you are looking after the Mbira?
I am trying. I am doing the best I can by playing it and playing it in different spaces here on N, introducing it to people. And through it, I introduce the culture of Zimbabwe, the beautiful things about Zimbabwe. Oftentimes media likes to focus on the negative things happening in countries. Not likes, but that kind of news seems to get more traction. So I like to talk about the beautiful stuff that is normally not highlighted in media, but is absolutely true about Zimbabwe and its culture, and of course, Mbira.
What is Mbira?
Mbira is one of the most beautiful instruments on earth. We call it, it's in the class of lamellophones, they say, and it's got metal keys that are positioned against a wooden board, and then they're held in place by two other metal boards, so that when you pluck it, it vibrates and creates a note. This is one of our most revered traditional instruments here in Zimbabwe, and you find it in many other African countries too.
Oh, that strum. That was beautiful already, you know? So I'm going to ask you to play for us a little bit later on. But for now, can you
Okay.
tell us the journey? Um, how how did you end up playing the Mbira? Was that, your aspiration when you were growing up? What did you want to be when you were growing up? And how did your career journey lead you to playing the Mbira?
Yeah, I would say the mirror is one of the gifts from God to me, from my ancestors to me, because my path led me to Mbira. I didn't grow up in a family where we were playing Mbira every evening, where we were being taught Mbira by our grandfathers, the Mbira being passed on from one generation to another. However, as I was growing, while I was still in tertiary school, I'd left my A levels and I was studying fine art. Then I bumped into the Mbira. When I was studying fine art, my introduction to Mbira was more as the material culture of Zimbabwe. So we did a lot of theory on Mbira, but not the practical. And all I knew of the sound of Mbira back then were the Biastela Chueshes, the Chiwoniso Maraides. And then after my studies in fine arts school, I went to music school to properly focus on learning music, and the program I studied included Mbira. I must say, however, when I was still studying fine art, one of my lecturer's friends was the first person to teach us Mbira. He would come visit his friend playing Mbira down the corridor, and then when he was leaving, he would play it up the corridor. He used to not wear any shoes. He was a very interesting person. But one day we braved ourselves and we asked him to teach us Mbira. To our surprise, he agreed. And he said, just buy the instrument and then I'll teach you. But the next time he visited his friend, he brought us the Mbiras and he just started teaching us. I don't remember us ever paying him. Bless his soul. His name was Sekuru Robio. That was my first introduction to Mbira. One of the most important things while I was learning Mbira from him, he asked us, all three of us, we were three ladies, and they asked us, why do you want to learn the Mbira? I remember expressly that I said, I want to make money. But I want to make money with my heritage, with something I know represents my roots, something I know my ancestors left for me. And that's exactly what I have been doing since.
I love how you say, I bumped into the Mbira. And how your calling just came to you. You bumped into it, isn't it? And
Yeah,
that's a beautiful thing. Um,
it's a beautiful thing.
and you had a mentor. You said, you had this guy that you used to see playing, and he mentored you basically, or taught you the Mbira.
Yeah.
How has mentorship, has it played a big part in your career? And how are you passing that on? Are you also mentoring, or are you also teaching young people who want to play the Mbira?
Mm-mm. Well, that's part of custodianship, isn't it? You pass on the knowledge that you've learned so that it lives longer than you.
Mm.
You give a longer list to you, the knowledge that you have. It should pass on to other generations. And this has been one big thing in the Zimbabwean culture and a lot of African cultures, the passing on of knowledge to the next generations. So I most certainly try to do this as much as I can. I was blessed to be introduced to Mbira by someone who didn't even ask for money for it, by someone who really, really wanted us to learn about Mbira. And I also have the same duty, the same role to teach other younger musicians or older even, anyone who's interested, to teach those who don't believe in Mbira, those who still believe Mbira is pagan, it's demonic. It's also my role to convert them so that they know that the Mbira is just an instrument that we then use as you please. And while carrying it, then we carry our heritage with us, whether you play hip hop or jazz on it. So it is one of the things I enjoy doing, passing on this knowledge to the next generations.
Wonderful. I hope you mentioned something there that I want us to talk about a little bit. And you said, the Mbira, how the Mbira is seen, how the Mbira is perceived. And I want to connect that to your album, which Anotida. I was been listening to it the whole week, ever since you told me about it. And I want to connect. Yeah, it's beautiful. It really is.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I want to connect that to what you said just now about the perception of the Mbira and you being a cultural custodian and you actually converting people, converting that perception. Was the album a part of that conversion effort?
Oh yes, the album Anutida was most certainly an attempt to, for lack of a better word, to sanitize Mbira. Because if you look at the history of Mbira, unfortunately, it's rather tied to the history of colonization also. So there is pre-colonial era when we loved our instrument. We would play it at weddings, would play it while herding cattle. We would play it at spiritual ceremonies in the village, in our families. It was an important part of who we were. And then colonization came. And with it came Christianity, and with it came the demonization of this instrument. You know how they say, if you want to rule a people, just cut down their culture. That's exactly what happened. There was a time when playing Mbira was illegal. People could get imprisoned for it. A lot of our material culture in the form of ancient Mbira were burned. And there was a lot of teaching that Mbira itself would call demonic presence, demonic spirits. And so the Mbira was labeled pagan. Unfortunately, up to today, there are certain people who still believe this. Understandably so. I mean, when you play Mbira the traditional way, the ancient way is we playing Mbira so that we summon our ancestral spirits for guidance, and then they carry our prayers to the Lord, whether it's the same God or not. There are many arguments there. So most certainly the Christian would see this as pagan, as demonic. And unfortunately, Mbira then just gets into that whole argument. Also, it's in the middle of it, and certain people do not want to listen to Mbira music. So playing Mbira music on different music styles is also to teach people that Mbira is an instrument. I like this analogy that other people give, that a knife is a knife. One person will use that same knife to cut bread. Another one will use that same knife to stab someone. So it's the same as any instrument on this earth. It's how one decides to use it. And I think the beautiful Mbira should be given the chance to express different duties in this world.
Yeah, that is true. It's really just how you use it. And if you see the Mbira as a musical instrument that strums that beautiful music and use it in the right way, then sanitizing it, as you say, it's really just understanding that it's an instrument that can be used.
Muri mwari ndinotambudzika, moyo wangu unochema, ndinokuda zvino, ndizadzei, ndizadzei, uya
At what point did you realize, Hope, that this is not just a passion, this could be a career?
Like I said, I was one of the lucky ones. Because one of my first teachers asked me that very important question: why do you want to learn this instrument? And my answer already incorporated the commercial side of it. A heritage The word for heritage in Shona Naka. A lot of people fight for Naka when someone dies, because it places you a step better than where you were before. If your father leaves you 10 houses, already you are different from when you didn't have 10 houses. Now, Mbira, I look at it as a heritage also. It gives you a better starting point. So for me, I always took Mbira seriously, learning it so that I can learn my culture, but also understanding that I believe it's what our ancestors would have wanted for us to make back through our heritage rather than imitating what's elsewhere, but spotlighting the heritage they left us so that they spotlight the beauty of Africa, and what greater thing than to make money out of it also. So for me, it has always been a calling, but a calling that has also always been the bag that sustains me.
I like that about the heritage, and that, we need to see what we have been left as wealth, right? We tend to look at, have I been left money? Have I been left houses, like you're saying? But there's a lot of things that are inheritance that we have been left that we need to know how to use, and we can use it to make money too. Hope, it's not a traditional career path. What reactions did you encounter when you chose music as a serious career? And I think you said you always wanted to be a musician, but you just did not know that you were going to end up a Mbira player. Did you receive any challenges? Were there any naysayers? Or within the family, were there any people that were like, I think you should be an accountant? Or, what?
Well, in fact, I didn't always know that I wanted to become a professional musician. What was absolutely clear from the minute I was born was that I was artistic. I had a great voice. Drawing and things like that, they come pretty easy for me. And when the voice is concerned, it was kind of the family thing. We used to sing every evening as a family. So that was pretty clear. But becoming a musician professionally, that only took shape later on in my life. So when I finished my A levels, my art teacher, by the way, I took art as a fourth subject, and I was the only art student at my school because my art teacher really, really fought for me to do art. She had seen my work, and that was one of the beautiful A's I had for my A levels. So after finishing A levels, while I was waiting for my results, she was like, "You can already start art school," because it started in January already at Harare Polytechnic. So she helped me apply. By the time I finished A level, I was already going to start art school. So by the time my results came, I had the choice, I had the options to start focusing on a different career path or to continue with art. I decided to continue with art. And thank the Lord, my family was, I wouldn't say very understanding, but very encouraging, in fact. And I think my luck was that my father is an artist, was an artist. He used to paint a lot. Now that he's retired, he's painting again. And like I said, everyone had an amazing voice. So the artistic gift had always been there. My mom had an angel's voice. So they understood me and my family supported me. I was one of the lucky ones. But I think nowadays, it's not a looked down upon career, because there have been so many figures who have done amazing things with their creative gifts. There are names that if you mention, any parent would want their child to be like that. Look at Ja Preza. Look at Oliver Mtukudzi, Chiwoniso Marare, Bia Stella Chiweshi. These were women who did amazing things in the music industry, and they did amazing things for Brand Zimbabwe. So by now, I'm sure there's still some parents who look down upon career paths in the creative industry, but it's changing bit by bit. We have actresses that are doing really well. We have fashion designers that are doing really well. And when they do that, that representation makes life easier for the next generation.
You mentioned art there, and I see you have quite a number of paintings around you. Are those paintings that you have done?
Yeah, when I'm relaxing, I'm just playing with colors and stuff. That's what I do.
That's multi-talent. Does that multi-talent translate to multiple streams of income?
Most certainly. Being multi-talented is makes life easy, but it also comes with its complications. You know how they say "Jack of all trades, master of none." You can continue with the saying, but that little bit also applies to a lot of people. So when you're multi-talented, um, sometimes you want to do everything when you cannot do everything because no one can do everything. But sometimes you can focus on two or three of what really is your forte and use them to feed each other and to make sure that there's never a day that you stop. And if you're lucky, to make sure that you drive a Lamborghini. But it's how you know exactly how much you can focus on. I like to focus on things in seasons so that I'm not focusing on three things at the same time. And then I end up not catching even one of those dreams. So I am multi-talented, that's for sure. It takes a lot of management and knowing how to handle the different talents, knowing when to ask for help, even though you can do something, but you still ask for someone else to do it. Yeah, I don't know if that answers you.
It certainly does. Did you ever have a plan B? Or did you commit fully and figure things out along the way?
Well, like I said, I was lucky. Also, when I started in the music industry, there were really huge, wide gaps. There weren't many of us female musicians, and speaking of female Mbira players, there were very few of us. So for me, the start of my career was I won't say easy, but not as difficult as it is now. Um, we didn't have much social media, so you really depended on radio airplay, and I was fortunate enough to get great airplay because the guy with whom I recorded, the studio at which I recorded, Monolio Studios, then took me to radio with my first album, and it was very well received. So for me, it was not a stroll in the park, but yeah, it wasn't as hard as it is now to put out music. So I never really had a plan B. I was aware of having to have multiple income streams, but I wasn't in any hurry to do that. You know how Will Smith, in an interview, says it's a lack of faith to have a plan B. It is a lack of faith to have a plan B. If you're really serious about your life, you have plan A, you execute, you make sure you're gonna get fruit from it. However, when I was doing backing vocals for Dudu Manenga, one of the Zimbabwean musicians here, she always would go for a gig with at least two dresses or three even. Because sometimes someone is going to bump into you and spill wine on your lovely dress, or the zip is going to rip off. Anything can happen to your lovely dress. So plan B is just, it's not saying you don't have faith, but it's saying you do not control everything on earth. Sometimes you do everything correct, it's just not going to work out. So plan B is essential. It doesn't mean you do not have faith, but it means you know you do not control everything on this earth. Now I had plan Bs, but in the form of other income streams. And I would encourage everyone to have plan Bs.
Yeah, plan B is something you learn as an entrepreneur, isn't it? And it can be taken even to like having to redo things. Have you ever, as an artist, have you ever had to redo an album? Have you ever had to redo a painting or rewrite a book or realize, oh my goodness, there's wonderful elements in this book, but the whole or the overall presentation is not going to work out. I have to redo everything.
That's the order of the day. That's the order of the day. And genius is knowing when you stop or when you can keep working on something and redoing this or fixing that. That is where the genius of it comes out. But yeah, every once in a while we have to redo things because sometimes we made actual errors. There's a time I spent hours and hours at studio. There was no electricity, so we were using a generator, which was outside. And we tested and we figured that the generator sound wasn't coming out on the recording. However, because of the generator, there was this hiss that was at the back, and we only had that hiss at the end of the whole session. So we had to redo. It wasn't anyone's fault as such, but we had to redo the whole session. Sometimes you write a book, and then as you send it for edit, your editor says something that shows you that from a marketing perspective, it would be safer if you edit this element. So you go back and redo the whole book, adding that element. When I wrote my book, Our Sacred Place, it's a poetry book based on the Song of Solomon, the biblical book, the Song of Solomon. And when I wrote it, I was really in the zone of that book. When my editor read the book, then she was just throwing ideas out there and asking me to think about it. And she says, imagine an interpretation of Song of Solomon, but in an African way. And then that just opened a whole other avenue to those poems. So it wasn't necessarily redoing, but certainly revisiting them and giving them an African identity, even though it's still the Song of Solomon. So redoing is the order of the day. And if you consider that once you release something in this day and age, it's out there for good, sometimes it's worth it to redo, and you come up with, you'll actually strike gold.
I love it. Reinvention and the wisdom of knowing when it's a good idea to redo and when to leave it or when to just put it out as it is. Hope, we're going to take a short break, and I'm going to ask you to play us a little piece. And then we'll be right back to talk about actually making that money that you spoke about. Wow, Hope, it never gets old. It never gets old. Wow, you are really, really talented.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I listened to, let me confess actually.
Yeah.
I did not know about you until your Kenyan tour.
Oh.
And I listened, people were sending me little clips because I was away, and I listened and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Are you sure this is the Mbira?
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. What a lovely compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, this is absolutely beautiful. And then I started, when I asked you, that's how we connected, right? Through your tours.
Yeah.
And that is the power of connections.
True.
And now I'm a fan. I didn't know about you 3 months ago, and now I'm a fan.
That is fantabulous. A big yay!
So I want to start the second half talking about your tours, your collaboration. There's a collaboration you do with Monoswezi. 1 second, welcome back, everybody. And you just caught us right in the middle of a conversation with Hope Masike. We took a break, but I am so enthralled. She played for us during the break. And all I can say is wow, wow, wow. And I just carried on. So you have caught us in that conversation. If you are only catching us now, please do go back to the beginning. But Hope, right back to talking about your tours and your collaboration. Can you tell us about your collaboration with Monoswezi? Correct me, please.
Monoswezi. Monoswezi. More for Mozambique, Nor for Norway, Swe for Sweden, and then Z for the beautiful Zimbabwe. So it's acronym for those 4 countries. And the musicians in this collaborative are from those 4 countries: Norway, Sweden, Mozambique, and Zimbabwe. And it's one of the collaborations that I have done in my career, but this one is the longest lasting thus far. I met Monoswezi in 2011 in Norway, and I was in Norway teaching Zimbabwean Mbira and marimba music. I met Monoswezi and we clicked. Musically, we were creating really nice fusions of Scandinavian jazz with Mozambican traditional music, Zimbabwean traditional music. So with time, the press started calling it Afro-Nordic jazz or Afro-Nordic music. And it's really that. So it's the influences from the Scandinavian music scene, mostly jazz, and then from Mozambique and Zimbabwe traditional music. And so far we have 4 albums. Our 5th one is coming out this February, and I'll be on tour with Monoswezi for the release of this album. So look out for our 5th album. It's called Moyo, the Heart.
I love that. And why is it called Moyo?
Well, I guess because that's my totem. It's because that's my totem, and I have a song where I pay homage to my ancestors, the Moyos, those of the Moyo totem. But also because Moyo, the heart, is also exactly this. It's love, compassion. It's perhaps one of the things that enables us to connect with each other from our different cultures. So yeah, it's an album, but it's celebrating love. It's celebrating paying homage to where we come from, to our cultures. Yeah, that's Moyo. Remember, Moyo. It's easy to find. Moyo.
I am looking forward to it.
So am I.
Let's talk about something you have mentioned maybe 2-3 times in this conversation. And you said you wanted to play, when you were asked, why do you want to play Mbira? You said you want to make money from something your ancestors left you. And you mentioned it again. And I want to know, can music actually make money in Zimbabwe? Has the choice that you have made, has the career choice that you have made, can it make money in Zimbabwe? And are you realizing that dream? You can choose to not answer the second one if you don't want to.
Okay, the closest and easiest answer to that is yes. It can make you money. It can, it can make you money. The question then is how much money it makes you. And that is dependent on many things. It's the type of music you choose to do, whether you place it in the correct market, whether your marketing is moving with the current trends and the trends relevant to that type of music. It's how well you network and how well you activate that network. You know, they say your network is your net worth. It's all of that. It's how serious you are with your music. And I guess I'll throw in favor, because in the Bible talks about favor. Favor exists. I'll throw in a bit of luck in there. So it's many other things that then determine how much money you make out of it. But you can certainly make money out of it. Now, let's say making a decent living out of music, that you can do also. Making a ton loads and loads of money that you can do also. It's just how much you're willing to trade off for that. Yeah.
What
That
does
is my diplomatic answer.
yes, that's why I'm glossing over it real quickly. Hope, what does resilience look like for you as a creative entrepreneur in Zimbabwe or in Africa per se?
Yeah. Resilience for me means fighting for what you believe in. A friend just posted something today, and they're talking about the struggles they've had with their child who was born Down syndrome, but they're working on fighting against the diagnosis that was given. And there are changes. They're doing different traditional medicines and exercises and a whole lot of things to top up the usual medicines. And their son is changing. It's actually developing better. So I was just talking to her, and we kind of agreed that this thing called life, in Shona we say, okay, sekerera. It will do exactly what it wants to do. In Shona we say, inotoparukira. So if you just relax and you say, oh, life has thrown this at me, oh, so this is what I'm going to do. You need to fight, and that is what resilience is. Things are not going to be okay every time. There are going to be challenges left, right, and center, because that's life. Life is ups, downs, and the good, the bad, the ugly. That's life. So you need to stand and fight for what you believe. If what you believe is that I am going to lose 2 kgs, stand firm there. Even if you eat a lot during Christmas, January is here. Work on losing it. That is resilience for me, knowing, understanding that life by nature is ups and downs. But you focus on what you want to achieve through the good, the bad, and the ugly. Keep going.
I like that. Focusing on what you want to achieve. There will be ups, there will be downs. But when you focus on what you want to achieve, you will get there.
Yeah.
What have been the hardest challenges you've faced in this industry, Hope?
Yeah, well, there are several, I imagine. But I would say one of the challenges is figuring out a way of learning things that you don't know. And making sure you are always learning what you don't know. You cannot learn something until you know you actually don't know it, and you need to learn it. For me, one of those things was financial literacy, where I was coming from, and the industry in general. We don't get a salary at the end of the month. And if you do not learn very, very quickly how to manage the money as and when you get it, you will lose great opportunities to do amazing things in your career. So for me, it was a challenge to learn this financial literacy, also without necessarily going to actual school for it, but figuring out how to learn it. Firstly, figuring out that what did I need to learn, and then figuring out how to learn it, even figuring out how to get help with it. That has been a bit of a challenge. And my other challenge, which feeds into that also, goes back to one of my advantages, the fact that I'm multi-talented. Boy, I can do a lot of things on my own. Yeah. I am the goddess of DIY. I can do it. But having to learn that just being able to do it does not mean you should do it. You end up having too many things on your hands, and then you won't do them well enough. Or you can do them well enough, but then there's burnout. Or sometimes you can get someone else to do it, and they will do it way better than you, because this is the creative zone. It's always nice when you were talking about collaboration. It's always nicer when you collaborate, because someone comes up with an idea you were never ever going to think of. So those have been some of my challenges. Yeah, from the top of my head, I've mentioned those two.
I think that is a challenge that most entrepreneurs have, the urge to do everything yourself. And I think learning that you don't necessarily have to do that. Hope, before I let you go, I want to talk about this global conversation around Africa rising and the other angle of the changes that are happening with AI. So the first thing, from where you stand, do you believe Africa is rising? And if so, what is your thought process on that? How can Africa take advantage of that?
Yeah. Well, most certainly, I think Africa is rising and has always been. There were a lot of things that were slowing us down, one era or the other. But currently, we are certainly rising. As for sure, there's a kind of a renaissance that is happening, a lot of awakening that is happening, and I would attribute it to technological advancements. The fact that we can share information so quickly now on TikTok, Instagram, you can do a whole reel talking about the whole history of a country, for instance. That has influenced a rebirth of Africa. And the younger generation, they're embracing who they are and learning about who they are, perhaps a bit faster than it took for some of us. And then also the fact that same technology, which sometimes we are afraid of, like AI, we are currently wondering here in the music industry here, we're currently wondering if AI generated music should be eliminated from the charts, from award ceremonies and things like that, battling with all of that. But I think one of the strengths of any nation is realizing that it is here. And what we have to do is figure out how to coexist with it. I remember when Facebook came, I was one of those conscious ones who were saying, oh, no, we don't do things like that. We don't do social media. Look at us now. So sometimes the quicker you understand that things change, life is changing, this earth is changing, the quicker you catch up and the quicker you are able to monetize it and to make it part of your story as well. So all I would say is the other side of the story is that Africa needs to take more leadership in the invention of these things, the creation of these things, the policing of these things, which really at the end of the day goes down to how much and how well we can use it, how much you can make money out of it. Africa needs to take leadership in the creation of a lot of these technological advancements that are happening. Otherwise, this renaissance is going to take us another century. Yeah.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that, particularly when you talk about leadership, taking a leadership role in developing, in creating and developing that narrative about us, and in terms of AI, embracing it. There's so much there that for me, it was a challenge. You talked about the AI-generated music. I think we had a private conversation where I was, Hope, I don't know how I feel about this, And you were like, we need to embrace it. And we need to ensure that we are finding ways of working around it. Because I was like you. I was like, I'm not going to go on Instagram. But look at me now. Instagram, TikTok.
Here we are. Oh, my.
You find us there.
Oh, we are there. In full force.
Yes. Hope, I show speed and, I think I mentioned this to you previously. I was like, what role, what responsibility do artists have? And I refer to I Show Speed or I Speed Show, I forget again, but a celebrity who came to Africa and was demystifying Africa. What role do African celebrities or African artists rather have in driving that narrative rather than having people coming to demystify because there's a mystery?
Yeah, we have a big role there. It's surprising that in this day and age, there's still a lot that is not known about Africa. And surprising, but also, on the other hand, it's not very surprising because to a certain extent, the Africans themselves do not know this. Sometimes I feel like us Africans, Perhaps not all of us, of course, but there are quite a lot of Africans who do not understand the power that we have as Africans and how we were created equal to others, how we can be leaders thoroughly and not just be getting handouts and, like I said, waiting for creations from others, but be global leaders properly. We don't have to wait for a seat in the Security Council. We can still lead from where we are, and we can do that when we realize the heritage that was left for us. There's a lot of it. We need to be the ones packaging it. We need to be the ones selling it. We need to be the ones setting the prices. I'm speaking very globally here, but of course, there are different areas to consider in this conversation. So I think the artist is an important person at this table when we're talking about the development of Africa. You cannot leave us because we nearly always have the loudspeaker. I mean, look at me right now. I have a mic in my face and I'm singing. I have a mic and it goes through these loudspeakers. People listen to us. They mightn't listen to the lyrics, but they listen to what we wear.
Yes.
They listen to how we carry ourselves. So I think the artist should never be left. The artist should be empowered and should be well and thoroughly educated about who we are as Africans. We can never leave out the artist from this conversation because we're going to be the loudspeaker. Yeah.
I love that, the loudspeaker. Now, Hope, when people hear your name years from now on, what do you hope that it represents? And once again, I am using hope quite a lot, eh? You notice how it keeps coming up.
I get that a lot. It's a good name. I hope that years from now, I'll be one of the figures who are remembered every time Africa looks at how it harnessed its heritage. Every time any African looks at and remembers how we led to harness the different heritages that have been left for us, I hope my name comes out there also as one of the names that really put a spotlight on Africa and showed how beautiful it was and how underutilized it was by the African herself.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I think you have done a pretty good job so far.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's a lot more coming.
A lot more coming. And what is exciting you about this next chapter of your journey?
Whew. So I have a very important book coming out this year. All I can say for now is that it's on Mbira. So this whole custodianship and trying to make sure that knowledge is documented and chronicled somewhere correctly and also by us. So it is for us, but it's also for anyone else who would like to understand Africa better. I don't just talk about Mbira, the physical instrument itself, but talking about Mbira, the culture itself. Mbira, the music itself and the rhythm. But talking about Mbira as a representation of the heritage of Africa in its different forms. So I'm really excited about this book. I think it's going to be groundbreaking. Stay tuned for that book.
I love that. I'm looking forward to that book because I would love to find out a bit more about Mbira. And I like that, for us, by us, about us, for us, by us. I like it.
Yeah, hallelujah.
Hope, thank you very much for your time. I know I have to let you go because you have to rush off to your next engagement. And I appreciate the time that you're taking. And I also just want to say, well done for the community work you're doing. I saw that you do some work for St. Giles. And I really believe in that community impact.
Oh, thank you. So here in Zimbabwe, when I say thank you to you, because I'm a female, I do this. This is how I thank you. The guys do this, but I cannot produce the sound. So, thank you so much for having me. Let's do some more soon.
Let's do some more. Finish this last sentence off for me, Hope. Entrepreneurship in Africa requires?
Resilience.
Resilience. I love that. Resilience. And I think that is a common thread among my conversations this season when we're talking about entrepreneurship as a career choice. Resilience. You have to be resilient. Yeah. Thank you once again, Tatenda. I come from the south of Zimbabwe, and we don't necessarily do but I know how to do it.
Yes. Thank you so much, my dear.
Toboka, siyabonga,
Toboka.
matatenda, asante sana. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you for joining me today on my amazing conversation with Hope. So inspired. I am inspired. And I hope that you have been inspired too. We're going to play that little piece again that Hope played for us now to keep you inspired. Until next time, stay inspired.